Okay, so as mentioned in class today, we're going to go over a wireframe and then taking the wireframe from the wireframe to actual HTML. The XD file that is visible here is available on the vico2162.github.io, and it is this simple XD layout. Now, if you notice, if you look at this website, it's going to look strikingly familiar to here. We've got a header, we've got a main body, we've got an aside, and we've got a footer. But what we're going to do is actually do mobile first. And so we're going to focus on this iPad, because really the iPad and the phone are going to be really close to the same, with maybe just some difference in fonts. One of the things I want to do to demonstrate is this whole unit here is your body in HTML. So you'll notice I have this dark background here, and you can see it in between these elements, and then you'll notice it's slightly a lighter gray in between the main body and the aside. The reason that is the main body and the aside are within one container. So we're going to add a square box here, and we're just going to take this whole, basically make a container within Adobe XD. And then I'm going to fill this with, we'll just use CC, C, 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 C. We'll just keep doing C's. And then I'm going to take this and send it to the back. So now you can see that there's also this gray, this lighter gray in between the main body and the aside. And we're going to go over doing this whole section. Now, first things first, I went into my desktop. I created a folder called Vico2162, and I named the folder Wireframe to HTML. Just named it so that I would be able to know what it is by just looking at it, and it keeps me organized. Now, the second thing I did was opened up Atom, and I went to File, Open, and then selected the folder. Yeah, so Open, went to Desktop, Vico2162, and then I double clicked on the Vico2162, so it tried to open it. But then selected Wireframe to HTML, double clicked on it, opened it up. Once I have the folder open in Atom, I need to create the actual file that's going to display. The default file that displays when you open up your web browser to any folder is called index. So I'm going to do new file, name it index.html. That way it will load automatically when I go to this folder. And if you remember from class, we start off with doc type HTML. We then have the actual HTML tag, and I'm going to go hit a bunch of enters and close the HTML tag. And then the next element, or the next tag in a HTML document, is the head. Head basically contains descriptors of the document. It never actually gets displayed anywhere on your page. This is kind of hidden content. Things that are in here are like the description and keywords and links to your CSS and links to jQuery. And the one thing that's required for it to be valid HTML is a title. So I'm going to give this a title of Wireframe to HTML. Close the title tag. And then the other thing, if you remember, we have meta, and I can never remember the exact wording, so I'm actually going to cheat, go over here where I've already got it open, and I'm going to copy that viewport bit out and paste it in. So viewport width equals device width, initial scale equals 1. And then I'm going to close the head tag. Now normally this lines up on its own, but for some reason it's not doing it right now. So I'm just going to backspace once, and that's going to line everything up. This helps visually organize your code. The next element is a body tag. And this is where all of your actual content goes. So go down to the very bottom, put the closing body tag in, and then we're just going to step through putting the appropriate tags in for each of these elements on the page. So one of the things that we want to use is semantic markup. The semantic markup basically gives you information about the contents within the tag. We could do div and put in something, but it makes more sense to say header, and this is an HTML5 tag. So, and basically the header is, these are what would be in the header. So your logo, your company name, your navigation could be in there, your contact information, something that's going to show up at the top of every single page. Just so we have content in there, I'm just going to type in header. And of course, Adam's trying to be helpful when it shouldn't be. And it tries to put in another header tag. So let's try this again. I'll just type in header and not hit enter. And so the next element is your main. Main is once again another one of those HTML5 tags. So we can just type in main. Let's see, let's use it correctly this time. See, main, and then we need a container for this and a container for the aside. We could do div class equals main content or something like that. But really this is a section. I'm trying to use all HTML5 type tags. So let's call this section, and I'll put in the words main body, and I don't want to hit enter because it'll put a body tag in. So I'm just going to close that. And then the sidebar here, which is displayed underneath, is called an aside. So we hit aside, and it's going to automatically give it a class. We're not quite there yet. We'll talk about classes soon. So I'm just going to leave aside, and then so that we know what it is, I'll just type in aside here. And then, so that's your main content area. That's this area here. Then the last element in this is your footer. And so we'll put footer, hit tab a couple times to line everything up, and put the text footer in. All right, looks like everything's pretty much there. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to go back to my Finder, open up the folder, and then I'm going to open this with, or I'm just going to double click on it. If I double click on it, it'll open up in Chrome. And you can see it's just header, main body, aside, footer, which if we look at this, is really, other than, the spacing, is really what we have. Okay? That's really all I'm expecting out of this. So the next step is, let's talk about GitHub again. So I'm going to go open up GitHub as soon as I find it. So command space, GitHub desktop. And I am going to say file, add local repository, and then I'm going to browse to the folder I just created. So I'm going to go to Document, FICO 2162, Wireframe to HTML, and I'm going to click Open. Now, the first thing it's going to tell me is, you're crazy. This doesn't actually have a Git repository in it. So it's going to give me the option to create a repository. I'm going to click Create, and I'm going to leave it the same name. So Wireframe to HTML, and repo, we'll just say repo for starting a simple web page. Okay, and we'll leave this alone. We don't want to initialize a README. I'm going to click Create Repository. Notice over here that you just saw this folder and this file get created. I actually have it set to hide or display hidden folders. And the way you do that is your Command Shift period. So if I hold down the Command key and the Shift key and then hit period, I can toggle whether or not those files display. And that can actually help you if something's going really weird. The toggling those so you can actually see the hidden files can help. So I've created a repository. If I look at the history, it's going to show me that, hey, you created this really simple HTML page. And all these pluses mean that that's been added. The last thing I need to do is actually commit this to master. Well, actually, there's nothing to save because it's already been committed. Never mind. It's your initial commit. The last thing I need to do, is to actually publish the repository. Because right now, if I go to GitHub, I click sign in and select the right you'll notice that I have a bunch of different things here, but I don't have anything wireframe to HTML. To finish it off, what I need to do is open up GitHub and publish the repository. It's going to ask me, oh, what do you want to name it? I'm going to leave the name the same, and I'm going to leave the description the same, and so that anybody can see it, because I really don't care if people see what I'm doing here. I'm going to uncheck keep this code private, and then I'm going to click publish repository. All right. Go back to my GitHub account, refresh, and I still don't see it. So I'm going to click show more, and wireframe to HTML. Here it is. So I'm going to click on the repository name. And so we can see what this looks like. I am going to publish it as a GitHub web pages. So I'm going to scroll down through here to where it says GitHub pages, and I'm going to select the master branch. I only have one branch. Click save. It'll reload the page, and now if I scroll back down, I have a link. I'm going to click on the link, and this is what you will get. You'll get a 404 page to start off with. If you notice, the time is now 11:02. I will pause the recording, come back at 11:07, and we'll see if the page is back up, or the page is up. There's some processing that goes on behind the scene. It takes a while. All right, see you in 5 minutes. Okay, so it took a little bit longer than the 5 minutes. It's now 11:08, and I'm going to click refresh. Actually, I'm going to hold down the shift key, click refresh. Oops, it's not showing up. All right, we'll give it another 5 minutes